Martin.
Hello, everyone. Okay, let's wait for everyone to join us. Okay, hello, everyone. We'll just wait. See, there are people in the waiting room. Let me admit them all. Who is the host of this?
It's me. I'm the main host. I've given you all co-host ability.
Okay, good.
You should be able to.
Great.
Cool.
Okay, is everyone here, David?
I think so. I think we're expecting a few more, but I think they probably won't be arriving now. It's almost 4:05.
Okay, Emmanuel, good to see you. How are you? Oh, he's still connecting. Okay. Emmanuel, how are you? Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon for us here in Israel. My name is Ronen Avraham, and I'm a professor here at the law school. I'm the director of the Parasol LL.M program. With me today here is also Renata Brahmi, who is the administrative director of the Parasol LL.M program, and David from the Lowy International School. Our distinguished speaker today is Professor Michael Birnhack from Tel Aviv University, who is a world-renowned expert on privacy and some other stuff, and he's going to talk to us shortly. But before then, let me quickly tell you a few things about the Parasol LL.M program. So I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna just let Michael do the heavy lifting of teaching us new and interesting stuff. So I guess you guys can see my screen, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're going to start with a short video, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining the program before we switch to Professor Birnhack. So here's a short video.
When the stakes are high at work, your tone matters. Grammarly's advanced tone suggestions can help.
An international LL.M, and I started to look around.
Can you hear well?
I knew I wanted to do an international LL.M, and I started to look around at some of the programs, and immediately the strong focus on international business transactions at Tel Aviv jumped out at me.
When I was searching for the program, Israel was my first choice, as I really wanted to explore this country and to feel what it means to live here.
There are many tracks on the program. There is technology, business, human rights.
This university enjoys an excellent reputation and attracts outstanding professors.
Like I finished the law and technology track, so you feel more ready to get into the startup nation, and maybe you can work as a lawyer in a law firm. You can pursue a PhD, as I did.
For me, it was fascinating to learn from not only from professors, but also from practitioners, partners at major law firms.
Israel, and specifically Tel Aviv, is a very good place to learn, business law, because it's the startup capital of the world.
It's full of energy, creativity, innovation, and everything.
This is where Startup Nation is. This is where the startup scene is in Israel.
People, atmosphere, classrooms, everything is perfect here.
There were people who were getting their second masters, there were people who were already working, who had a lot of experience in their field of work.
A lot of cultural dynamics and a lot of different views.
So having an international LL.M program allows you to learn more about the world, have connections with students from all over the world.
There was such an academic level that I've never seen before in any other academic institutions that I've studied.
You get to study not only from established professors in the law faculty, but also from practitioners and activists who are immersed in social issues that sit at the heart of Israeli society.
Campus life is exceptional.
Nowhere else is having the beach so close. Being able to just go to the beach and have some drinks and go into the city.
It's been amazing so far, and I'm really sad when I think about leaving.
Your Mediterranean gateway to global excellence.
Here you will learn with the best students in the world, from the best professors in the world, in one of the best cities in the world. Join us.
The program offers a unique opportunity to combine the studies of doctrine, theory, and practice in a country which is one of the most interesting places to study human rights, and in a country which is full of innovation and technology.
Okay, so, sorry. I just turned off I closed the presentation. Let me quickly open it again. So basically, here, I have to log again. I apologize for that. Let me just tell you while I get the presentation up that this is a one-year program. You come here on September 1st, you study for 3 weeks together with your LLM colleagues. We teach you 3 courses that we thought that every LLM student coming to Israel needs to know. And then comes October, which is when the school year officially begins, and this is when you actually join all other Israeli and exchange students studying in Israel, and you get to choose whatever courses you're interested in. We have, as I'll show you in a second, we have 3 tracks here in our LLM program. We have a business track, we have law and technology, and we have human rights. And I'll show you in a second a list of courses that we have. Our few things that make
I'm joining you back soon. Yeah.
Let me just, yeah, thank you. You mentioned him. Few things that make us different from other LLM programs all over the world is that our class size is small. I just spoke with someone at Berkeley. Their class size is 200 students. Our class size, LLM class size, is between 15 and 20. We have students coming from all over the world. Really, if you log on to our website, you'll see the countries students are coming from: Northern America, Europe, Asia, Africa, everywhere. We have lots of extracurricular activities. We have field trips, we have overnight trips, we have excursions, we have roundtables, and we have something which is called Glocal, which is unique to us, and that is in the break between the 2 semesters, you can join, it's like an internship in a law firm in your area of interest, and you spend there a few weeks, and you do that for credit. So it's like a full course on a pass-fail. Here, I got the code. It's a full course on a pass-fail basis, and it enables you to experience, if you're interested in law and technology, Startup Nation, in the business, if you're interested in the business track, it enables you to experience a law firm that deals with basically, you know, the business side of Israel. Okay, I have my presentation back. Let me share it with you. Here it is. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so a few minutes on Tel Aviv. It's 30,000 students, 2,000 international students. So if you live in the dorms here, you get to really meet and interact with students from all over the world. In order to be part of our to have a previous law degree. David, there are people in the waiting room.
Yes, I'm letting them in.
Thank you. Tuition is $21,000. Scholarships and I'll talk about them in a second. And as I said, the class size is up to 20 students. Oops. And I talked to you about the local is experience in a local Tel Aviv law firm. If you want to stay and write your thesis, you can do that. We have students who have done their PhD here. It requires you to stay longer in Israel. As I said, we have field excursions, and I'll talk about the fellowship and scholarships in a second. These are our tracks. We have a general track, law and technology, international law and human rights, and the business law. And we have over 50 courses in English every year. If you take these courses, you will see exchange students, and you will also be in the class with Israeli students who have to take courses in English. So it will be a great way to interact with students both from Israel and all over the world. On the left side, what you see is what happened here during COVID. So when the rest of the world was studying online, we were able for a long time to, because it's a warm country, we're able to have classes outside, maintaining social distance. Students brought their laptops and were able to still come to the university and have normal life. As I said, we have all sorts of trips all over the country, not just geography, but also cultural trips. So you get to see lots of different sizes of the Israeli society. And of course, it's in Tel Aviv, which is by far one of the coolest cities in the world. In terms of life on campus, we have on-campus housing. Here you can see one of the dorms that we have, one of our security. You get health insurance. There's doctor's office on campus. There's food courts, various food courts and supermarkets. And it's just 10 minutes bike ride from the beach and from downtown. So it's a great location, much cheaper than living in downtown Tel Aviv, but a lot of our students also choose to live in downtown Tel Aviv or for their own reasons. So if you're interested, feel free to scan the code or email us, or just Google Parasol LL.M program and talk to Renata. She can give you any information you're interested in. You can also chat with her now or later. And without further ado, I actually have to go to a seminar here at the law school. So I'm going to say goodbye to you and thank Professor Michael Birnhack for coming to us. And I'm going to give the microphone to David, who's going to handle it from now. So thank you very much, David.
Thank you so much, Ronan. Thank you. Okay, I'll just take literally 5-10 minutes at the most, just to give you an overview of Tel Aviv University and the Lowy International School. Just 5-7 minutes. I'm going to begin by playing a video. It's less than 2 minutes that I just think encapsulates the learning experience here much better than I can explain it to you. So let me just play this.
Tel Aviv University International, the only place in the world where you can study Taoism. What is Taoism? Well, it's a local philosophy that says the best way to study is through experience. Understand with your head, learn with your feet. The best way to study a multicultural society is to live in one. Be ready with your elevator pitch. You never know who you'll meet on campus. If you want to learn the best marketing strategies, just go to the local market. Reading about the startup nation? Write your own chapter. Study literature in the place that inspired the bestseller of all time. You can't resolve a conflict until you witness one. רוצים שינוי! רוצים שינוי! At TAU, there is always room for more questions and 400 labs to find the answers. Come experience the wisdom of Taoism at Tel Aviv University International, where first-class education meets a second-to-none lifestyle.
Okay, so that's Taoism, and that's basically the philosophy that, you study best through experience. So when you come to Tel Aviv University, you learn with your head, you understand with your feet. Learning happens everywhere, and sometimes where you least expect it. So when you come to us, you don't just learn in a classroom, but you learn in a campus, in a city, in a country. All of these things will transform you, and you'll have an amazing experience, and we call that Taoism. Oops. So this gives a good snapshot of who we are at Tel Aviv University. Listen, we're Israel's largest and most comprehensive institution of higher education. We have 30,000 total students. 2,000 of them are international students that come from 100 plus countries. We are a big multidisciplinary institution, 9 faculties, 125 schools and departments. You heard in the video, there's 400 labs here on campus. We're truly a big institution of academic excellence. So I won't go into all of them, but obviously we're very proud of our ranking here at TAU. We have lots of rankings here among business, entrepreneurship, innovation. Some of these rankings, the entrepreneurship, the VC-backed founders, the graduates established unicorn companies worth $1 billion. We are the only non-US institution to make these top 10 lists. So we're very proud of that. And also 55% of the population on campus is women. 2 years ago, the university set up its very first Equality and Diversity Commission, headed up by Professor Aviv, and their remit is clear, is to enhance equality and diversity among everyone on campus. As I mentioned before, we're a big institution of academic excellence, and our impact is felt large and wide. We have 9 faculties, and that alone has creates a unique and fascinating connections between disciplines that are not traditionally connected to each other. And that alone provides infinite possibilities for academic creativity. World-renowned faculty, renowned professors, global university with students from 100 plus countries. Every year, our students perform over 300,000 hours of community service. And also you get to enjoy the wonderful Mediterranean city of Tel Aviv that we call home. Ronan briefly touched on it, but Tel Aviv is Israel's cultural and commercial capital. It's a pulsating, vibrant city. It's been called the Mediterranean capital of cool by the New York Times. It's a non-stop city with amazing nightlife, food, and cultures. It's a city you can never stop exploring. The tagline of the city is non-stop, and the tagline of Tel Aviv University, the Lowy International School, is non-stop discovery. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from my time here is the student life team. So they are what we call madrachim, which is the Hebrew word for guide or counselor, and they're there very much to give you a nice soft landing. So when you come to us, you're not coming to a quote foreign country, but when you arrive, they are there on arrival day. They organize orientation. They live in the dorms with you. They are available 24/7 for any issues or support that you need. In addition to this, they also do amazing events on campus with all of our international students, events like pizza night, yoga night, movie night, day trips in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, overnight trips in the north and the south. So you'll get to really experience the best of Israel through the student life team. And this sense of community extends through, obviously, I think Ronan showed you some of the same pictures of the accommodation, which are literally on campus. What we try and do is keep all of the international students together in the dorms, but at the same time, you're surrounded by Israeli students as well. So in my opinion, you get the best of both worlds. There's some nice pictures of the dorms. You can see they're either studio style or shared bedroom style. They have their own kitchens, their own laundry facilities. There's also social rooms. There's also quiet rooms to do some studying. Also, there's a small gym in the dorms as well. So literally, much cheaper than going into a private rented apartment in central Tel Aviv. I just want to mention as well that we have lots of scholarship options. I do recommend, I'll put this into the chat. afterwards. On our website, we have lots of scholarship options that we know, that we provide. There are other scholarship options, external ones that we know of, that we list on our website as well. We have them there categorized according to region or country, and also a few other ones. So I do recommend you to check it out. We just launched Israel's first full sports scholarship back in February, an academic scholarship for elite athletes. We also have scholarships for students from the Ukraine, from Turkey, from Latin America, lots of other scholarship options. So I do recommend to check it out. I just want to end just quickly mentioning, I know we're talking about the LL.M Parasol Foundation program, but just if you have any family or friends, or you're still considering, we have 60 programs here, all taught in English, from high school gap programs all the way up to PhD and postdoc. So you literally can come to us post high school and matriculate your entire way throughout your higher education journey. And that's me. Thank you very much for just a brief overview of the university and what's waiting for you here at the Lowy International School. I will stay on the webinar, and I'll put up my email into the chat and a couple of those links, and you're welcome to reach out to me if you do have any questions. Other than that, I'm delighted to introduce Professor Michael Birnhack, our esteemed speaker for this session. So Professor Birnhack, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. Professor, only I want to add something before you begin. At the end of the lecture, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'll be here to help you out, okay? Thank you. Please, Professor Michael.
Sure. So thank you, David. Thank you, Renata and Ronen, who's left. I have directed this program before Ronen, so I really like it, and I think it's a great program and a great opportunity for you to pursue an LLM in a wonderful environment. I would like to chat with you a little bit about privacy, kind of, to give you just a taste of the kind of scholarship or academic issues that we discuss, especially in the law and technology track, but it's obviously also a human rights issue and also a business issue. So it cuts along all three, the main tracks in the program. So I would like to discuss the spectacular collapse of privacy legal categories. What on earth does that mean? So we have interactions with others. We sometimes are people, sometimes we act as consumers, and sometimes we are citizens interacting with the state. For each of these, we have different kinds of legal responses. When we discuss interpersonal relationship, we have privacy torts. For the consumer-corporation relationship, we have data protection law, and for the citizen-state relationship, we have constitutional law. And these are separate categories of privacy law. However, increasingly, we see what I call complex informational settings, or in short, CIS. What does CIS mean? It means constant data flows between multiple parties, not just two people, not just a consumer and a company, not just a citizen and a state, but all of them together, private, commercial, governmental, and the data flows in all sorts of direction. And this situation really challenges privacy categories. The separate categories that I've mentioned earlier are faced with an unknown new situation. And there's a concern here. The concern is that when we shift from privacy torts to data protection to constitutional privacy, privacy is lost in those transitions. And sophisticated parties, such as very sophisticated data-based companies or governments of the world, will realize that and take advantage of that in order to achieve their goals, but at the expense of our privacy. So let's delve a little bit into the three categories and then see how they collapse. Interpersonal privacy. This is when we interact with others. It can be using Google Glass, if you use any of that. When we take photos, upload them, post them, and tag our friends or other people, we share something about them. with their consent, but sometimes without their consent. When we report other drivers whom we think are not so happy, we are not so happy with the way they are driving. When we join a running team on Strava or some other Fitbit application, we share information about other people. In many cases, the way we deal with it is by social norms. These are fences, and the British typically say that high fences make good neighbors. So it's not law, it's social norms between the neighbors that enables them to live side by side. Or in biblical terms, if you're familiar with that, there's a biblical saying, "How lovely are your tents, O Jacob." And the interpretation for that is that the tents are lovely because they did not face each other. So even though the tents were of the Israelites in Sinai were close to each other and made of thin, curtains or whatever, they enabled some privacy to the people. This is privacy by design, by the architecture of the camp of the tents. When that doesn't work, when social norms do not work, we have privacy torts. First appeared in law as a right to privacy in a very famous law review article by American scholars Samuel Warren and Louis Brandeis. Brandeis later became a Supreme Court justice in the United States. For informational privacy, that was one category. A second category, informational privacy. This is when we give, whether we realize that or not, lots of data about ourselves to companies. It can be as mundane as when searching something on Google or Spotify music, when we buy in the supermarket and use a so-called loyalty card. A loyalty card may give us a bit of a discount, but it's also a way to track our past and present purchases. And the supermarkets do collect that data. Whenever we take a city bike on the right top hand there, we provide information about location, about the use of the bike, how much time, etc. When we use navigation applications such as Waze, originally an Israeli company, then acquired by Google, we give a lot of information about our location and social networks, etc. This relationship is regulated by data protection law. And it's us as citizens, and on the other side, data-driven companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, Meta, and many, many other companies, insurance companies, banks, etc. And they care about one thing, their bottom line, their money. They don't really care about us, even though most of the privacy policies begin with, we care about your privacy. You're right. They care about their own business interests, which are legitimate. All of this accumulates into what American scholar Shoshana Zuboff has called surveillance capitalism. Instead of governmental state surveillance, we have moved into a capitalist mode of surveillance. There are lots of challenges here, and we answer them with data protection law. The leading legislation on this matter in the world is the EU's, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, which is a beacon for data protection laws all over the world. The third category, constitutional privacy. This time, it's us as individuals, as citizens, versus the state. And the state has many legitimate interests: security, prevention of terrorism, efficient management of, whatever services are provided. Unfortunately, managing COVID and other pandemics, etc. And the governments of the world do collect a lot of data about citizens. It can be via CCTV systems, various kinds of biometrics in different countries, like Aadhaar in India, body scanners in airports in the United States and some other countries, various COVID-related management, data management systems, smart cities, you name it, and a lot more. These are just obviously just a few examples. How do we deal with that? We wish to avoid Big Brother scenario, 1984, of course, and we deal with that with constitutional statements, international level, in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, regional laws such as the ECHR under the European Council, or in specific constitutional clauses such as the Israeli Basic Law on Human Dignity and Liberty, which says that all persons have the right to privacy and to intimacy. So, and of course, we have lots of debates about that, but we have a legal toolkit to deal with that. So we have three legal categories: privacy torts for interpersonal relationships, data protection for consumer corporate relationship, and constitutional privacy for citizen state relationships. What we see in recent years is that this collapses. Two examples of when personal data, our data, becomes commercial data and often becomes governmental data. First example, COVID. How do we prevent COVID-19 from becoming a 1984 nightmare? Obviously, pandemics are something that needs to be managed. We have learned that over the past few years, and we know that the virus spreads very fast. It's important to curtail the spread of the virus as early as possible. For that, we need to provide or to conduct contact tracing. We need to realize whom has met or crossed paths with a person with COVID. And for that, many governments employed various voluntary applications. The Israeli government, the only democracy to do so, has done not only a voluntary application, but they have enacted a general compulsory system of surveillance in which cellular companies were required to provide data about locations of people to the Shin Bet. The Shin Bet is the Internal Security Service, something like the MI5 or FBI and things like that. That's their logo on the right with some words in Hebrew over there. So data created during the commercial use of the cellular system has become governmental. Have we consented to that? No, we have not. Should we review this under data protection law? Because that exceeds the original purpose, which is a issue of data protection, the purpose limitation principle. But once the data goes to the government, it becomes a matter of constitutional privacy. So the separate categories are inflated within each other. More than 20 years ago now, my colleague, Professor Niva Elkin-Koren, and myself, we have discussed a similar phenomena in regard to the USA Patriot Act, which is a post 9/11 enactment, and we call this the Invisible Handshake. The Invisible Handshake means the collaboration between the government and the private sector. So it's a handshake because it's a collaboration, and it's the invisible hand of the market dealing with the government. And we have documented that phenomenon. When Edward Snowden came out with his NSA revelations, we were not surprised because we have found about this possibility at least a decade earlier. We were surprised about the scope and extension of the private governmental collaboration. And privacy falls in the cracks of that move. So social data becomes a commercial data. This will be another example. Some of you may be familiar with Truecaller. Truecaller is a Swedish-Indian application. You can download it and this is not a recommendation to use it, you can download this application, and it's a caller ID. So that means if I receive an incoming call and I have no idea who the caller is because they are not in my contact list, so Truecaller will work in the background and show me the name and phone number and maybe even the image of the person who is calling me. This can be extremely convenient, okay? It can be efficient and comfortable, and you know whom to answer and whom not to answer. It's a good way to detect spam and not answer unsolicited calls, etc. How do they work? When we download the application, Truecaller asks us to approve the terms and conditions. Nobody reads that, right? No sensible person reads terms and conditions of these kinds of applications. So I have read them, and they're interesting. For example, they say the following: if you, that's us, the users, provide us, Truecaller, with personal information about someone else, interpretation, my interpretation, when we allowed them to access our contact list, you confirm that they are aware that you have provided the information and that they consent. Nobody does that, okay? Whenever we download an application which asks for access to our contact list, most people do, yes, okay, next, okay, okay, next. Do we call our friends and ask them for permission? Nobody does that. Why? I do not know. Matter of social norms, perhaps. So it's a great application, very convenient, which we give them access to our contact lists, and this enables them to provide the service. Now imagine 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that I would approach you and ask, hey, David, can you please share with me your phone book, which used to be in this form, in writing? And by the way, David, whenever you add something or delete someone, update me. That, of course, would have been considered extremely rude, aggressive, and would be refused and frowned upon. David would say, what's going on, Michael? You shouldn't be asking that. That's impolite. We don't do that. However, when we move online, what used to be a direct relationship between two people is now intermediated with Truecaller. An interpersonal relationship became a commercial relationship between each party and Truecaller. On the way, when we mixed the social with the commercial, we lost our privacy. Okay, and this is what I call a CIS, a complex informational setting. And the new technologies challenge the legal categories. So once again, these are the three legal categories, and I do not know how to do that, but imagine them all sort of conflating together into one piece. This is a challenge. What can we do in order to address it? Do we have solutions? Well, some ideas. One of them is theoretical. If we had a unified understanding of privacy, a theoretical conception of privacy across all categories, that would solve the problem, because we would think of privacy in the same manner when we discuss peeping Tom, someone kind of, peeping into something or someone that they shouldn't be doing, and data protection issues, data collection, processing, GDPR kind of issues, and constitutional issues. If we were to think about all of this in one unified way, it would be easier to deal with cross-category situations because everything will be one category. However, it's quite difficult. There are many privacy theories, many justifications, and there's a lot of theoretical mess in this field. So we are quite far away from this theoretical unification. A second kind of solution, a legal one, if you were lawyers, you would say, okay, let's have all the players and map the data flows among them. This is my attempt to explain some of what happens when I enter with my car into a typical parking lot in Tel Aviv. I'm driving, I'm the driver. I may not be the car owner. The car owner may be my partner, my employer, a friend, a rental company, someone else. I enter a parking lot. I have a direct contractual relationship with them. However, many of the parking lots in Tel Aviv are owned by a company which is owned by the municipality. Oops, the municipality is a governmental agency. It's a public agency. It is subject to administrative law and constitutional law, not only contractual relationships. When I enter, I do not do anything. I have an application called Pango, which I have downloaded without reading the terms and conditions, because nobody does that. And Pango is connected with the parking lot, and by now they are owned by MoveIt. You may be familiar with that. And of course, there's also the device, Apple, Android, etc. A lot of data goes there. I don't have to do anything to pay because all of this is already connected with my credit card. If we have a problem in one of these links, a good lawyer would try and have this map and figure out the relationship between each party and the data flows. And the very simple action of entering a parking lot without putting money in the machine, because it's all, my car is immediately identified and money is deducted from my credit card, all of that data flow, extremely convenient, takes place behind the scenes, unbeknown to the driver, who doesn't care about that. But if there's a problem, we care a lot. And dealing with that is complicated. It's complex. It requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, tracking the data flows. Another kind of legal solution is, okay, we have 3 different legal categories. They are separate, but let's learn from each of them. Let's conflate principles and create, if not a theoretical unification, some sort of a legal mutual effect. For example, ideas from torts, from privacy torts, such as contributory infringement, can be borrowed and applied in data protection law. There's no reason why not. Or the constitutional principle of proportionality, familiar in Israeli and European law and many other countries, maybe we can import that principle into data protection law. Or the idea of privacy by design, data protection by design, which is a data protection idea, maybe that can be imported into constitutional law. In fact, there's one Israeli case by the district court in Tel Aviv, which adopted that idea based on one of my papers in Hebrew and instructed the Ministry of Defense in developing some application for soldiers who need some assistance to go back to the drawing table and do privacy by design, which they haven't done. That is borrowing an idea from data protection law, that category, importing and implementing it into constitutional law. This is a place where we lawyers can be creative and try and convince judges and policymakers to unify privacy and data protection law in order to overcome the collapse of the privacy categories. Another option is privacy by design. I've just mentioned an idea developed by former Ontario, Canada Commissioner of Information and Privacy, Anne Kavokian. It appears over here, and you can look it up and figure out a bit more if interested in that. So we live in a world of lots of complications and contradictions, liberté, égalité, fraternité, with a CCTV camera. We have a lot of that all over the world, and we have to deal with that. And we lawyers have a toolkit, a toolbox. It's not perfect, and we have to work to improve it. So I hope that was of some interest, and it will be lovely to see you here in Tel Aviv next year. So thank you so much for your attention.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor Birnhack. That was a very enlightening lecture. I don't think we realize just how much of our privacy we give away. But I am actually quite old school. I have a notebook where I keep all of my information. I don't put it electronically. So try to do my bit, but then I do use Pango to park, so I'm giving it out in other ways. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to switch off the recording so we can then open up to a Q&A session to anyone. So let me just stop the recording.